The alarm screamed as Dr. Celeste Armano threw the midnight footage onto the council room screen. At 12:04 a.m., Alessio Moretti's hidden camera showed Nora Bell, his chubby new maid, locking the bedroom door, lowering his paralyzed twin to the floor, and placing a marker beneath his motionless hand. She dragged a helpless man from his chair, Celeste said. "Arrest her." Two guards closed around Nora. The attorney looked away. No one challenged the doctor who had controlled Matteo Moretti's treatment for 6 years. Alessio stared at the brother he watched through cameras because he could not bear to enter the room himself. Nora did not plead. "Play 11 more seconds." The recording continued. She supported Matteo's wrist without moving his fingers. Slowly, one finger dragged the marker across the floor. Not Alessio. Then Matteo pointed toward a silver injector beneath his bed. Celeste stepped back. That vial was destroyed. Nora met her eyes. "I never said it was a vial." Alessio's chair struck the marble. For 6 years he had believed the ambush that paralyzed his twin was punishment meant for him, and that Matteo's silence was hatred. But at midnight, a maid he planned to investigate helped his brother use the one movement his doctor claimed did not exist. Before sunrise, Alessio would destroy his surveillance system and learn why Matteo had been silenced inside the safest room in the estate. 5 days earlier, Nora entered that room carrying clean sheets, and one rule: never ask the Moretti twin what happened. 5 days earlier, Nora Bell followed the head housekeeper through the Moretti estate carrying sheets against her chest. At 32, she had learned that wealthy families rarely hired people like her for warmth. They hired them to disappear. Her chubby figure and quiet manner made strangers underestimate her, which was useful until they mistook silence for blindness. The East Wing smelled of cedar and antiseptic. Before opening the final door, Dr. Celeste Armano stopped Nora. "Mr. Matteo Moretti is completely paralyzed below the neck," she said. "You will clean, prepare his meals, and report anything unusual. You will not ask about the ambush. You will not move his chair. And you will never place objects in his hands." Why Celeste's expression cooled. Because false hope is another form of cruelty. Inside, Matteo sat beside a window in a motorized chair. He was 38, the same age as his twin Alessio, but 6 years of confinement had sharpened his face into something older. A silver medical case rested beside him. 3 cameras watched from the ceiling, hidden badly enough that Nora suspected they were meant to be noticed by staff, not by the man beneath them. Alessio Moretti stood near the fireplace, his attention fixed on Nora rather than his brother. The feared head of the Moretti family asked one question. "Can you follow rules? I can follow rules that protect him." For the first time, Alessio looked directly at her. Celeste sent Nora to begin in the bedroom. As Nora passed Matteo, the doctor lifted the silver case. His eyes moved toward it. Once. Then twice. Nora stopped. Celeste had said he could communicate only through a calibrated eye-board, but there was no board in front of him, and Matteo had not been looking at the case. He had been warning Nora about the woman carrying it. Nora made the bed without touching the silver case. Celeste had left it on the dresser while checking Matteo's pulse, speaking over him as though silence had erased his hearing. "His agitation rises with unfamiliar staff," the doctor said. "Do not mistake involuntary reactions for communication." Matteo's eyes shifted toward Nora, then toward Celeste's hand. "How do I know when he wants something?" Nora asked. "You call me." Celeste injected a clear solution into the port beneath Matteo's collarbone. His breathing changed at once, shallower, slower. A muscle tightened along his jaw. "He needs rest," Celeste said, closing the case. After she left, Nora stood where the nearest camera could see her hands. She placed 2 washcloths on the table, one white and one gray. White for yes. Gray for no. "We stop whenever you want. Is your name Matteo Moretti?" His eyes moved to white. "Is Alessio your twin white again? Did you want that injection?" For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then Matteo looked at gray. 2 floors above, Alessio leaned toward the monitor. He had installed the cameras after a night nurse was caught photographing Matteo's medical records. Since then, every new employee had eventually performed for the lens, speaking too gently, adjusting things twice, finding excuses to touch his brother. Nora did none of it. "Does the injection make it harder for you to communicate?" she asked. Matteo's gaze moved toward white, but halfway there, his focus blurred. His head tipped sideways. Nora caught it before it struck the chair support. The bedroom door opened. Celeste stood there without the silver case. "What exactly are you teaching my patient to say?" Nora kept one hand beneath Matteo's head and met the doctor's eyes. "Nothing," she said. "I am learning what you made him unable to say." Celeste crossed the room and removed Nora's hand from beneath Matteo's head. "You are overstimulating him." He answered 3 questions. His eyes wandered toward contrasting colors. "That is not an answer." Nora looked past her at Matteo. His breathing remained too slow, but his gaze had sharpened with anger. The door opened again. Alessio entered without announcing himself. Celeste straightened. "Your new maid ignored medical protocol?" I watched. 2 words silenced the room. Alessio picked up the white cloth, then the gray one. He placed them at equal distance from Matteo. "When we were 9, did I break our father's gold watch?" Matteo looked at gray. Nora saw Alessio's fingers tighten. Celeste did not. "The question proves nothing," the doctor said. "He may associate your voice with familiar objects." Alessio changed their positions. "Did you break it?" Matteo's eyes moved to white. For one suspended moment, the brothers looked at each other without glass between them. Then Matteo's focus collapsed again. Celeste reached for his port, but Nora stepped between them. "What did you give him?" "A prescribed muscle relaxant." "Then show him the label." Celeste's face went still. Alessio ordered Nora out. She obeyed, but before leaving, she saw the medication chart beside the bed. Every dose for the previous 30 days had been signed at precisely 8:15 a.m., even on the 2 dates when Celeste's own schedule showed she had been outside the country. That night, Alessio replayed the footage alone. Matteo's first 2 answers were clear. Nora catching his head was clear, but the 47 seconds containing Celeste's injection had vanished. The system recorded no malfunction. Only 3 people possessed authority to delete East Wing footage. Alessio was one. His security chief was another. The third was Dr. Celeste Armano. By 7 the next morning, Alessio had changed every password connected to the East Wing cameras. He did not accuse Celeste. Accusations warned people. Instead, he summoned Dario Viscari, the security chief who had served the Moretti family for 11 years, and placed a still image from the missing footage on his desk. "Who deleted it?" Dario studied the timestamp. "Not me." That answer becomes dangerous if it changes later. It will not. Alessio believed him enough to postpone judgment, not enough to stop watching. In the East Wing, Nora replaced Matteo's washcloths with 2 wooden coasters. White fabric could be dismissed as contrast. Wood required intent. She placed one beneath each of his hands. Left for yes, right for no. His right index finger remained still. But when Nora asked whether Celeste had ever shown him the medication label, the fingertip moved less than an inch toward the right coaster. It was movement. Small, strained, undeniable. Nora covered it with the bedsheet as footsteps approached. Celeste entered, carrying the silver case and a dismissal form. You are no longer assigned to this wing. Did Matteo request that he is not medically capable of requesting anything? From the doorway, Alessio said, Then neither are you. Celeste turned. For the first time, surprise broke through her composure. Alessio took the form and tore it once down the center. Nora stays. You are trusting a maid over the physician who kept your brother alive. No, he said. I am trusting what my brother did when you were not controlling the answer. Matteo's eyes fixed on Alessio. Celeste closed the silver case. Then you should ask why your new maid was dismissed from St. Orsino Rehabilitation Center. Nora went still. Alessio looked at her. Celeste smiled without warmth. She was accused of manipulating a patient who could not speak. Alessio questioned Nora in the surveillance room. She entered, saw the wall of East Wing feeds, and understood why he always seemed to know where everyone had stood. Did you manipulate a patient at St. Orsino? No. That is not the same as explaining what happened. Nora looked at Matteo's bedroom on the center screen. His name was Elias Ward. He had locked-in syndrome after a stroke. The neurologist said his movements were random. I noticed he tapped once whenever a male orderly entered. What did the tapping mean? She had built Elias a letterboard from laminated menu cards. Within 3 days, he identified the orderly who had been withholding pain medication and selling it. Before Nora could record a complete statement, the board disappeared. The hospital accused her of feeding answers to a vulnerable patient. Elias was transferred and Nora was dismissed without a hearing. Did anyone investigate the orderly? Alessio asked. He resigned with a reference, and Elias died 6 weeks later. For the first time, Alessio's attention left the monitors. Nora met his gaze. That is why I do not need you to believe me. I need Matteo's answers preserved before someone erases them. Alessio opened the St. Orsino file Celeste had sent. The complaint bore the signature of the hospital's consulting neurologist, Dr. Celeste Armano. In the East Wing, Matteo's right finger moved beneath the sheet. Once. Paused. Twice. Nora leaned close but did not touch him. He dragged the fingertip across the fabric in 3 broken strokes. N. Then another letter. O. He was not answering a question. He was writing the same word Elias had tried to give her years before. Nora looked toward the closed door, suddenly unsure whether Matteo meant the injection, the doctor, or the brother watching them through glass. Nora refused to guess what Matteo meant. She placed the wooden coasters beneath his hands and asked one question at a time. Is the word no about the injection? His finger moved left. Yes. About Celeste left again. About Alessio. Matteo forced his fingertip toward the right coaster. No. Relief crossed Nora's face before she could hide it. The nearest camera had recorded the answer, but she no longer trusted recordings to survive. We need something no one can call my interpretation. She brought a thick black marker and a plastic alphabet sheet from the supply room. Instead of guiding his hand, she placed the marker beneath his right index finger and waited. It took Matteo 11 minutes to make one crooked line. Nora did not praise him or finish it for him. Again, his finger moved left. From the surveillance room, Alessio watched his brother fight for a second mark. He could have entered. He could have ordered Nora to stop before effort became pain. But Matteo's eyes held the fury Alessio remembered from childhood, the look he wore whenever someone tried to complete a task for him. Dario entered with a report. Celeste's credentials had accessed the camera archive at 11:42 the previous night. The connection originated inside St. Orsino. Could someone have copied her password? Alessio asked. Yes. Or she used it herself. On the monitor, Nora replaced the page. Matteo dragged the marker again. The broken strokes formed the beginning of a letter. N. The bedroom door opened. Celeste entered carrying the silver case. She saw the marker, then Matteo's finger resting over the unfinished letter. Without asking him, she tore the page in half. Alessio captured a still image before the pieces hit the floor. When Celeste opened her case, the camera caught something else, a narrow inventory seal beneath the syringes. St. Orsino, research use only. Over the next 2 days, Nora and Matteo practiced only when Celeste was away. He could now move his right index finger across a smooth surface, but the effort weakened whenever his shoulder remained elevated in the chair. Alessio copied every recording to an offline drive. The St. Orsino seal proved the syringes came from a research inventory, but a photograph could not identify what was inside them. They needed a physical sample, and Celeste never left one behind. On the 5th evening, she arrived with 2 physicians and an emergency transfer order. "Your brother's care has been compromised," she told Alessio. "A housekeeper has encouraged delusions of movement, and you have interrupted prescribed treatment. St. Orsino will receive him at 6 tomorrow morning." Matteo stared at the document. His finger strained toward the right coaster. No. Alessio saw it. So did Celeste. "He lacks legal capacity to refuse," she said. Alessio could have stopped the transfer with armed men. Instead, he called his attorney and ordered an independent capacity hearing before dawn. Force would protect Matteo's body and destroy his right to be believed. At 11:30, the night aide reported sudden food poisoning. Nora volunteered to remain in the East Wing. "You have already lost one job for this," Alessio said in the corridor. "I lost it because everyone discussed Elias without asking him." She looked through the doorway at Matteo. "I will not help them do that again." At 11:51 p.m., Matteo began looking beneath the bed. Nora followed his gaze and saw a strip of silver caught behind the lower frame. Before she could reach it, Celeste appeared at the end of the corridor. She was no longer carrying the silver case, and one of the syringes inside it was missing. At 11:52, Nora closed Matteo's bedroom door before Celeste reached it. "He needs preparation for the hearing," she said. "Return with Alessio or the independent physician." Celeste struck the handle once, then her footsteps retreated. Nora locked the door. Matteo's eyes returned to the silver strip beneath the bed. Nora lowered the frame and found a half-filled syringe behind the support rail. The St. Orsino seal remained intact. She did not touch it. Matteo looked toward the floor, then his elevated right shoulder. In the chair, the joint sat too high for his finger to move freely. "I can place you on the therapy mat. Left for yes, right for no." His finger moved left. At 12:04 a.m., Alessio's monitor showed Nora lower his twin from the chair with the mechanical sling stored in the closet. She supported Matteo's shoulder and placed the black marker beneath his index finger. Alessio rose so quickly his chair fell. Matteo dragged the marker across the paper. The first stroke trembled. The second stopped halfway. Nora adjusted only the mat beneath his wrist, never his finger. 4 minutes passed before the words became readable. "Not Alessio." Matteo's eyes filled. Then he forced his hand toward the darkness beneath the bed. Nora followed the gesture and saw the syringe. In the surveillance room, Alessio touched the screen where his brother's message remained visible. For 6 years, he had believed the ambush was punishment meant for him. He had mistaken Matteo's silence for blame and hidden behind cameras because entering the room felt like asking forgiveness he did not deserve. But Matteo had spent his first unmedicated midnight using the only movement left to tell him he was wrong. Alessio sank beside the fallen chair. For the first time since the ambush, only a locked door stood between the brothers. and Alessio was finally ready to knock. Alessio knocked once. Nora opened the door. She looked at Matteo. His finger moved toward the left coaster. Yes. When the lock released, Alessio entered without guards. He saw his brother on the therapy mat, the message beside his hand, and the syringe still hidden beneath the bed frame. "I should have come sooner," Alessio said. Matteo's eyes held his. His finger moved toward the left coaster again. It was not forgiveness. It was permission to remain. Dario photographed the syringe in place, sealed the room, and called an independent toxicologist. Before the evidence team arrived, Celeste activated the emergency hearing herself. At 1:20 a.m., the Moretti council room filled with attorneys, 2 physicians, and armed security. Matteo was returned to his chair and positioned beside Nora. Celeste projected the midnight footage onto the wall. She locked a disabled man inside his room, removed him from approved equipment, and placed an object beneath a hand she knew could not move, Celeste said. "She has done this before. Arrest her." 2 guards stepped toward Nora. Alessio did not stop them. Nora looked at him once, then at the screen. Play 11 more seconds. The recording continued until Matteo's marker formed the words, "Not Alessio." Then his finger pointed beneath the bed. Celeste's face lost its color. That vial was destroyed. Nora had never called it a vial. Alessio's chair struck the marble behind him as he stood. The room heard what Celeste had revealed before she did. Dario entered carrying a sealed evidence bag. Inside was the half-filled St. Orsino syringe. The independent physician leaned toward Matteo. "Do you understand why you are here?" His finger moved left. "Do you refuse transfer to St. Orsino?" Left again. The attorney who had avoided Nora's eyes finally looked at Matteo. For the first time in 6 years, a legal record captured his answer before anyone else could erase it. At 3:07 a.m., the toxicologist returned with the preliminary result. The syringe contained an unapproved neuromuscular suppressant developed at St. Orsino. In controlled doses, it reduced severe spasms. Repeated at the concentration loaded into Matteo's syringe, it weakened voluntary movement, clouded focus, and could make purposeful responses appear random. Celeste did not deny administering it. He experienced dangerous agitation after the ambush, she said. The treatment kept him stable. For 6 years, the independent physician asked. Celeste looked at Alessio. "Your brother survived because I made decisions you were too guilty to make." The words landed because they had once been true. Alessio had signed every authorization placed before him without entering Matteo's room, believing distance was the price of keeping him alive. He removed Celeste's medical authority immediately. The attorney placed the alphabet sheet before Matteo. Nora stepped back where everyone could see she was not touching him. Was the ambush intended for Alessio? The physician asked. Matteo moved his finger to no. Was it intended for you? Yes. The room changed. For 6 years, Alessio had believed his power had destroyed his twin's life. Matteo had been unable to tell him the attack had followed his own investigation into St. Orsino's research program. Letter by letter, with pauses between each movement, Matteo formed 3 words. Files, car, Celeste. Celeste rose. He is confused. Dario blocked the door. Alessio remembered the wrecked vehicle recovered after the ambush. Matteo's briefcase had been empty, but the car's navigation drive had never been found. Celeste's expression gave him the answer before she spoke. You searched the wrong car, she said. Then every light in the council room went out. Emergency lights burned red along the walls. Dario moved Matteo and Nora behind the marble table while Alessio sealed the council room. One of Celeste's transfer physicians was missing. The generator room, Dario said into his radio. Take him alive. Celeste remained beside the screen. Even if you find the drive, possession proves nothing. Nora turned to Matteo. Was it hidden in your car? No, Celeste's car. Yes. Alessio remembered the night of the ambush. Celeste had arrived in a blue Saint Orsino sedan and left in a Moretti vehicle after claiming hers would not start. Her sedan had been towed to the estate garage and forgotten while every investigator searched Matteo's wreck. Dario's men restored power and detained the missing physician beside the disabled archive server. He carried Celeste's access card and a remote wiping device. At 4:11 a.m., Alessio, Nora, and an evidence technician entered the lower garage. The blue sedan remained beneath a dust cover. Matteo joined by secure video, answering each question himself. The technician removed the navigation unit under continuous recording. Behind it sat a black data drive wrapped in surgical tape. Celeste's initials crossed the seal. The drive contained trial rosters, falsified consent forms, payment records, and reports describing patients whose voluntary movement had been chemically suppressed after they resisted the study. Elias Ward's name appeared on the list. So did Matteo Moretti's. A final video showed Celeste meeting the men who later ambushed Matteo and ordering them to recover the drive before he reached Alessio. Alessio did not order her killed. He sent verified copies to the prosecutor, the medical board, and every family named in the files. Then he returned to Matteo. Do you want her prosecuted publicly? Matteo moved his finger to yes. Celeste had spent 6 years speaking for him. At 4:38 a.m., his recorded answer ended her authority for good. By sunrise, the transfer order was suspended, Celeste was in custody, and Saint Orsino's research wing had been sealed. Matteo remained paralyzed. What changed was not his body, but who controlled the meaning of it. An independent team replaced the drug regimen. A communication specialist built him a pressure-sensitive writing surface calibrated to his right finger. Medication visitors' therapy and legal testimony were now presented to him first. Alessio removed the East Wing cameras himself. He left the final bedroom unit beside Matteo. Keep it, remove it, or aim it at the ceiling, he said. Your room. Your choice. Matteo wrote one word. Ceiling. Alessio obeyed. Celeste was charged with unlawful human experimentation, falsifying consent, evidence, destruction, conspiracy in the ambush, and medical abuse. Saint Orsino's surviving patients received independent advocates. Nora's dismissal was overturned, and Elias Ward's allegations were reopened under his own name. Nora did not remain a maid. Using compensation from Saint Orsino, she established a communication rights service for adults whose responses had been dismissed as involuntary. 3 months later, Alessio visited her office by appointment. He brought no contract, no jewelry, and no promise that his world had become harmless. I spent 6 years watching because watching let me call fear protection, he said. I will not do that to you. Nora studied him. Then do not ask me to enter your life while you still control every door. He placed an East Wing key on her desk. It opens nothing now. Matteo changed the locks. For the first time, she smiled. She did not take the key. She reached across the desk and took Alessio's hand instead, not as forgiveness or surrender, but as a choice he had finally learned to wait for. Behind them, the camera from Matteo's room faced the ceiling, recording nothing. For 6 years, Alessio Moretti believed the cameras proved he had never abandoned his twin. They showed every visitor, every medication, every closed door. What they could not show was the difference between keeping someone alive and allowing that person to live. Nora Bell did not rescue Matteo by speaking louder than the powerful people around him. She restored his right to answer. She waited through every trembling movement, refused to finish his words, and treated one finger as enough when everyone else had decided his entire body meant no. The message, written at midnight, did more than free Alessio from the blame he carried. It exposed a prison built from guilt. Medical authority erased evidence and protection without consent. Celeste controlled Matteo by defining every movement for him. Alessio helped her by trusting screens more than the brother behind them. Matteo did not need to stand to reclaim his life. Nora did not need to join a mafia family to prove her worth. Alessio did not earn forgiveness by destroying an enemy. He began earning trust when he stopped deciding what everyone else needed. The final camera still existed, but it faced the ceiling because the man beneath it had chosen where it looked. So where does protection end, and when does love become another locked door?